Welcome once again to Eagle Talk. My name is Mariceli Santiago. I am the Director of Student Life and Activities here at Central Texas College, and I am blessed to have today Abelardo Molina. He is our department chair for the aviation program here at Central Texas College. Welcome, Abe. I'm sorry, I'm used to calling you Abe.
It's okay, that works. Thanks for having me here. That works for me.
It makes me think of his full name because I know it, but it makes me think about it. So welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about all these programs that you have? Because we are in a unique, your program is very unique here at Central Texas College.
Yeah, the department is growing now. So we started with the flight program first, and now we're adding the aviation mechanics certification program. So that's what we're composed of at the moment. And for a lot of years, we trained pilots, and technically since 1967. Throughout those years, we had some version of the aviation mechanic program show up and go, and didn't really stick for long. But what we're trying to do is return to that and get back to doing it.
Yeah. So it's not just learning how to fly, it's also learning how to fix them now, or at least moving towards that, right?
Yeah, well, and the goal is they're two separate programs, and the flight portion is going to be completely independent. But what the aviation maintenance side of things is going to do is to help our military personnel that has that experience throughout the years, and now is to help them get the right training to get the certifications on the civilian side with the FAA. And it's a pretty short program. This is not meant to be a 0 to 100 for any student to register for. There's a screening process through the FAA to be able to take this, but this is a 5-week program. And the idea is that if you had so much experience throughout the military, if your MOS qualifies for this and you pass that interview with the FAA, then all that experience or hard work that you have put in that can be now utilized in the workforce when you retire.
So it's really a transitioning from the military into the commercial pilot arena, right? Not pilot, but mechanics arena.
Yeah.
And that's very unique to us here, right? At Central in the Central Texas area, at least.
Yeah, in the Central Texas area. So we're trying to, obviously in the local community, and with so many active personnel in the Fort Hood area, we don't have something like this in this range of miles from that base, right? So what we're trying to do is provide a service, and without having to have personnel drive far away in order to get the help that they need to achieve this, and they can do it locally.
Okay. And so how did this new iteration, right, of the mechanic program come about?
Actually, a funny story, because this is something that we had been talking about with administration for some time now. We talked about the possibility of returning to the maintenance side of aviation, and we were trying to figure out the best way to approach this, because it is a complex program if we're going to do a 0 to 100, which is part of the plan, is part of the master plan. But we wanted to figure out the best way to approach this, and through one of the other faculty members at CTC from the English department, we were able to connect to a person that is very committed and super experienced on exactly this type of transition or help, if you will, to get the civilian side of certifications. And we got to meet Stephen Schubert. So he is a retired personnel from the military, from the Army. He has 21 years of experience doing this, so he has plenty of knowledge. And his motivation is to teach. So he wanted to teach. And obviously it's not that easy to just get out and start a school on your own. So through that connection, we were able to provide a support that he needed to get this started. And I would say that actually this week, June 1st, is his first cohort.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we had a pretty good response from the military, from commanders, from people who has the experience to be eligible for this training. And everyone is really excited about this. Obviously, his motivation and passion helps a lot to make people feel like this is something that they can do. And even throughout the process, we were able to establish that connection with an inspector from the FAA to be able to help through the process as
Mhm.
well. So it keeps everything local. And so that Steve has been an incredible help, and he's working really hard to get this going.
No, that's beautiful. That's really what we would hope to do, right? This is
Yeah.
really going into the industry, looking at what the need is, and then figuring out how to make it happen
Yeah.
so that we can support our local students.
Exactly.
Also, clue for anybody out there: networking. Dear God, networking can go so
Important.
far.
Hmm.
Because how would you have found him otherwise if it wasn't because of another faculty member?
Yeah, I know, and so and it's through communication. When our own faculty know about some of the projects that we're going to be doing and working on, then you don't know what people from our own workforce. You don't know who they know, and it's incredible that we got to meet him.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a person with experience that knows about the transition, that knows how to establish this, and that wants to teach. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's the goal, right?
That's the
Like
goal.
it's meant to serendipity, like everything just flows.
Uh-huh.
No, that's awesome. That's great. So by the end of it, they'll end up having a certification and then the qualifications necessary to work into to go into the civilian workforce.
So this basically what it does, because the FAA ultimately is the agency that will certify,
Mhm.
right? That means that even if you have the experience, you still have to be able to meet the standard. And all of this training is in this end is very similar to how pilots do their training too.
Mhm.
There's going to be the knowledge component, the practical component, and what we do is we facilitate the resources so that you can get the training. So both knowledge and some hands-on experience on
Mhm.
a retired aircraft from our own flight school, and to well, as you know, they work on helicopters primarily.
Of
So now
course,
we're bringing them into
those fixed wing.
fixed wing, and we're coming into reciprocating engines. So they're going to have firsthand experience, and we have our own mechanics who can also provide their own expertise to help them understand this
Sure.
information better, right? But what we do is prepare them,
Mhm.
and we prepare them uh, to be successful on the knowledge and the practical exam that they're going to have to do with a designated mechanical examiner or
Mhm.
mechanic examiner, and to also pass the written test that is also from the FAA. So we are the preparers, and then we also facilitate getting them to the right place to take the written exam, which actually is also in Fort Hood
Okay.
at no charge to the student.
Wow.
And then we also have a contact list of the designated mechanic examiners.
Mhm.
So Steve helps them connect to the right persons and to make sure that they're going to be scheduled. So it's not just walk in the classroom,
Sure.
bye, see you later. We actually are trying to help going through the entire process.
But that's something that's pretty common within the career and technical fields that we offer here at Central Texas College
Yeah.
because it happens with aviation,
Uh-huh.
but it also happens with like nursing. They
Mhm.
still have to pass their written exams.
Mhm.
They still have to go through other processes. And those are not things that are offered by us.
Correct.
All
Correct.
we're doing is preparing them and giving them the experience, if necessary, to be able to get them to kind of check that last box off.
Exactly. And once they reach that point, when they pass those tests, then they get the
Official
AMP,
certification.
yeah, which is airframe power plant
Mhm.
aircraft technician. And with that, now they're eligible to apply for jobs out in the workforce. So it's a really short term. Obviously, there's a lot of work and hard work background before they get to this point, but this is just to get them to the civilian side, and then they can go apply for jobs. And it's a really high need or high
Yeah.
demand field too.
And I've always heard that it's very high demand because the people that work, even if in any commercial, like any flight you take anywhere, the people that are on the ground fixing or actually sometimes even just moving and
Right.
connecting the planes in and out, they need to be trained in this. And even the simplest, some of these simple
Mhm.
that you think they don't have to have a lot of knowledge, they do have to have this training.
Oh, they do, and it's incredible how much they need to know, right? I mean, but that's where having this expertise is nice, is to allow them to interact with an actual airplane, not just have a slideshow.
Right.
Which this is where we're trying to go beyond what the minimum is, of course, because we don't want them just to have a prep and go take the written and hopefully they can pass the practical. We're trying to give them more hands-on experience, so that is a little bit, they have much better chances of making it through that practical exam.
Well, it's not the same. And people that are usually into mechanics, they need to do it with their hands.
Exactly.
Paper doesn't make sense to them until they touch it or do it, manipulate it somehow. Right. And so if they touch it, if they're able to manipulate an engine or any part of any aircraft, it's going to help them remember that much more later.
So,
and also it goes with the mission of Central Texas College, right? To make students employable.
Exactly.
So it's not just, oh, you're out of the military, you have this experience, now go out there and figure it out. It's, you have all this experience, let's help gather it so that you are employable and you can do better.
So, and the goal is that through partners that we were able to find, well, I'd say we as a team, Steve did a lot of the hard work, but
understood. We're gonna give him all the credit.
Yeah, he has the credit for that. But there are partners that we have now that will be able to work with the people that get certified, and that's where that continuous support comes in, right? Like you said, it's not just here's a training, bye, see you later. We're trying to go one step beyond to help them get to that point if they choose to go that way, of course.
Sure. No, this is great. This program itself right now that we're talking about, the maintenance, is it covered by the military? Can they pay out of pocket? What are ways for them to be able to, because I imagine some of them leaving the military right now. I know that the Army has some transition programs, but sometimes maybe somebody's didn't have the chance to enter into this transition program. Is that an option for them if they have the training and experience in the background?
So one of the things that is important to mention is, I guess, tackling the eligibility portion is that they have to have an MOS that is eligible for this training, and the FAA is very specific. I don't have my list with me here, but
fine. They usually know.
yeah, they'll know. But the what happens is that before they're eligible to go through the program, because we don't want to have personnel take a course or a program, spend money, and figure out that actually they were never eligible, right? So they take an interview with the FAA examiner inspector, and he's local. So they are the final people that will determine to greenlight the training so that they can get the piece of paper that says you're good to start. You're good to be able to take the written and to take the practical exam. So that's where we come in between to do the training. But that's what happens first. And then would you mind repeating that part?
Yeah.
The part of the question.
So I guess my biggest question is, let's say I was in the military for 20 years, similar to Mr. Schuper, right? Yeah. I was there. I have all this experience with mechanical. I think I qualify for it, but I've been out of the military for 5 years. Can I go through that process, or is it something, to make sure they still have the necessary requirements? Or does it have to be somebody who just left the military or more,
Is primarily to do it for the personnel that has recently retired or that is about to retire. And one of the things, I still want you to
really, right?
Reach out to Steve and he'll talk to you, because one of the important things is that he actually went through this process too, because he was 21 years in the military, right? So he had to also transition to civilian. He had to travel, and I think at that point he was not in Fort Hood, he was somewhere else, but he had to find a different location somewhere that will do this type of training. And so that's why he's so familiar with this process. So he knows where they're coming from. He knows what type of funding they can use. Oh, that's a question that you were asking about the funding. So he knows the type of funding that they can use, and there are several options that they have, and in order to support this. So the entire course, what goes to CTC, the course itself or the program itself, is going to be $2,000. And the other fees related to this, so like the written exam, which is not at no cost because it's in Fort Hood, as long as it's in the testing center in Fort Hood. And then the other component is going to be the fee going to the examiner, but that's between the student and examiner. So the funding to cover this cost, he had recently found that there is a specific fund that they can use to pay up to $4,000 to cover this transition portion, right? I do not recall the name of the funding, but there is that one available. And we are also we got approved to get this into our catalog. So the purpose is to submit this to the VA to be
Sure.
certified. And if they certify, then we're going to have the J bill cover that as well. So that's where that funding comes in. Obviously, there is private loans. There is a college has payment plans that is tailored to help students be able to get the training they need and not have the big financial,
burden.
hit
Yeah,
burden.
it's a lot.
Exactly. So
It can be.
when you look at all the resources, there are multiple ways that this can be done, and I think it's a pretty good value for that big step that they're going to take.
No, because this is them really just putting together all of the experience,
Right.
so that they can continue to do what they love to do. Because
Exactly.
usually by this point, if they've been doing it for 20 years,
Yeah, they know what they're
love
doing.
it.
Oh, yeah, and they love
just
it too.
want to keep going.
Yeah.
So, no, that's great. So definitely reach out to the department and get more
Yes.
information, right? If we want to figure out, hey, what are the steps? What do I need to do? Because this is not just, I'm going to do an admissions.
Yeah.
There's other things.
There's
involved.
other things, and the best way, we have flyers for them to be able to read, but the best way, in my opinion, and something that we promote a lot, is to do a one-on-one, right? And it's get to set up an appointment with Steve directly, and talk to each other about, your background, and then he's going to be able to tell you better what is the current situation for you, and that way you can be better helped, right? So if you have any questions, if it's okay, I can say the email address.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is ctc.aviation@ctcd.edu.
Okay. Yeah, definitely reach out, get more information about this, especially if you either are in this situation or if you know of somebody,
Right.
or you're around people that might need this kind of program and
Right.
they've been talking about it. This would be perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. The other thing I was going to talk about, you have a flying event coming up.
Yes.
What is a flying event?
So a fly-in event is, in the aviation community, is known as let's get together, right? You're, in other words, giving people who have airplanes an excuse to fly the airplane and do something fun, right? So
so this is the airplane equivalent of the Saturday night lowriders hanging out in the corner kind of thing, right? Like a car meeting, right?
Yeah, like a car meeting. So CTC, this is the second one that we do. And what we're doing different this time is, obviously, we're inviting the entire aviation community, whoever hears about us, and we already published through aviation, media that we're doing this again. But the goal is, we open the hangar, we have some food for the community to come in and just to hang out and enjoy of aviation, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the networking that we're talking about, because you don't know who's going to show up, right? And you might have alumni. Last time we had alumni that I haven't even met before.
Oh, wow.
But I have peers that have worked here for longer than I have.
Oh my God.
And they've seen each other, and they start talking about how things have gone. But we got to see people like that. We last time there was a group of pilots from a flight club that came all together, so that also was nice to see their airplanes. So the goal is that, bring that community here to spend time with us, to network with our students. I mean, a lot of them might be airline pilots, so our students themselves might end up getting with a future mentor, right? But this time, what is different is that we're opening it to the community. So again, the flying is not an air show, right? It's just an open house. And this is the equivalent of what we know as a flying. It will be an open house.
Yeah.
And our goal is to have, again, the food, the music, and then have the pilots, the students, and the community all together hanging out for one day. So It's open June 13th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that is at our college hangar at 1315 Stone Tree Drive, right next to Stone Tree Golf Course in Killeen. And
the airplane and the airport code?
Airport code. Oh, gotcha. You're talking about
if they want to fly in. Come
on. So it is.
We want them to fly in.
It's Skylar Airfield, so Kilo India Lima Echo. That's the airport code.
Yes,
right?
Thank you.
and we're in the northeast side of the ramp.
Okay.
So now, as far as the parking goes, we're gonna ask people coming from the roadside to please park by the aircraft terminal. So it's a brand new terminal. You won't miss it because nice and beautiful building that the city
Yay.
built. But they have a massive parking lot. So we're gonna have people stand by on the inside we have a golf cart, a nice transportation golf cart. So
Nice.
to move people to our hangar, because our parking lot is a little more limited. So if we do have a lot of people come in, we just want them to get to use that big terminal parking lot.
It's
And
nice.
you'll get to see the nice little building that they built.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're helping out the terminal people too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's awesome. We talked about the mechanic being a certification that you offer, but then now let's talk about the piloting side.
Right.
What are the degrees and certifications that a student can potentially get through that program?
So that one, because has been established for a longer time. So that one is actually attached to an associate's degree in aviation science, right? So there's the flight training component, hands-on, you fly an airplane. We own 12 aircraft, and there are 4 different models that they serve different purposes depending on the course that you're in. But you get to train in the airplanes. You also get to do academic work. Obviously, there's the Texas core requirements, but you get to do classroom work with an instructor as well that covers the theory part. So we're a Part 141 school. That means that the FAA has approved us to do this, that has approved our syllabus to teach specific lessons in a specified order. And it also brings the students to their commercial pilot license with a reduced number of hours. And now this is a performance-based training, so obviously it's a little bit different than a classroom setting. So you have to demonstrate standards, and we have the resources to help you achieve that. But we, as a 2-year degree program, we can get you from private pilot to commercial. And that does cover, that gets covered by the VA benefits. So it's important that if you come in from the military and you're inquiring about the benefits, you reach out to us. We can connect you to a right. We have staff in campus that can help see your benefits and see what applies to this and what doesn't apply to that. But what we do is we get you to commercial, right? And then what commercial pilot, what it does is it allows you to be hired as a pilot to transport people or property, right? But it is the first step. It's not airline, right? It is the first step.
It's being able to get on the plane.
It's be able to get on the plane to get money in exchange of that, right? And it is a little more limited, but from there we then have the flight instructor course, which is after you graduate from the associate's degree. So you're looking at the next step to build your flight time, to also gain a lot more experience, because a flight time is a byproduct of enjoying to teach, right? It's not the sole purpose of you being there, but to get your flight instructor certificate, then you get your flight instructor certificate, but with instrument add-on. And that allows you to now teach a student in instrument conditions, which is also part of the requirements that you need in the airlines at some point, is to have a lot of instrument time. So with that, the goal is to give you enough tools to get a job, to build your flight time in order to go to the airlines, right? So along the way, you'll do your multi-engine training, which my suggestion is when you get your CFI job, which is going to be income for you, then you can get your multi-engine training, which is a very short course. So we're looking at 5 years total, including the associate's degree, to get to the hours that you need for the airlines. And we do hire in-house graduates, of course. Obviously, we don't hire as many graduates as we produce, but when the opportunity comes, we always look at our graduates first to give them the opportunity to come in and build the hours with us.
Yeah. And I've seen also you guys have, if you have financial aid, you have work studies, you have others opportunities where the students can actually come in, work with you or under your guidance, and have different kinds of experiences with the aircraft and in the field.
Yeah, our students also, we have hangar helper positions, which is a student position, but also they extend into other positions in campus. I mean, they worked at the dorm primarily, like I have. And there is people working at the gym or maybe in the library. So there's other positions that they can take on to help support their studies.
Yeah, actually. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so usually another one of the questions that happens with this is what kind of airplanes do you have? Because usually they're interested in like
Right.
what can I get to fly?
So the very first airplane they get to fly is a Cessna 152, is the all reliable airplane, right? We got this airplane in 1980, 1978. They have moderate number of hours,
Wow.
so the the airplanes have always been hangared, so they have not been exposed to corrosion, something like that, right? But we're looking at very well taken care of airplanes to serve as a primary trainer for private pilot, which is a base entry. You've getting into aviation for the very first time, so it's nice to have a simple aircraft to teach the basics. Then from there, they go into the intermediate course, and that's when they step up into new aircraft from the fleet. So that's the Vulcan Air V1. This is I joke with my students about this because this is like the minivan of the fleet, right?
Okay.
It has a lot of good technology. It has a lot of space. It's not a fast airplane,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's meant to allow us to have a little more comfort on this course specifically because they're going to be doing 45 hours of solo cross country. So you're en route for long periods of time, and having the technology and the space makes it a little more comfortable airplane to fly in long distances, right?
Sure.
For long times. Then they go to Piper Archer. The Piper Archer is our instrument trainer, and this one has a Garmin G1000. So they bring what it is one of the best systems from Garmin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of screen area where we can display multiple information at the same time. So, and also brings autopilot systems to teach the students the proper use of autopilots.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't get to fly the entire course in autopilot, but we just want to make sure that they have a responsible use of them.
And that they're aware of how it works.
Exactly. And then lastly, we get into the Piper Arrow, which is going to be our commercial trainer. That brings retractable landing gear. It brings constant speed propellers. So it makes this what we call a complex aircraft. And we're one of the last schools that still has this type of aircraft because the FAA had made a little change on the regulations and requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing to have this airplane because if you desire to do commercial type of flights later on, you're more likely to fly similar airplanes to this. So
Mm-hmm.
having that experience is going to be a good thing to have on your resume for sure.
Yeah.
And we also combine, of course, in certain occasions, they might need to use the Vulcan Air for private pilot in case that because of weight restrictions or how tall the students are.
Mm-hmm.
152 is a very small airplane, so we might need to use
Adjust.
that and adjust. But we also utilize this aircraft for the flight instructor course. So the Piper Arrow and the Vulcan Air is for the flight instructor course to prep the students to teach. And then on the instrument flight instructor course, they get to use the Piper Archer again.
So when they're flying in this area as part of their training, I mean, I've heard
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of a good thing to be in this area to learn because there's so many. So you have very close to us, we have the military traffic. Then we are close enough to some of the bigger, like Austin and bigger airports that and then the weather, even the weather is a factor that can help in training, right? So
Yeah.
what are some of the things? It can be a hindrance, I know, but it can also be a good thing. So can you kind of explain that?
I think the weather part is pretty important. So we do have a pretty, I would say, we have a little bit of everything on weather. Texas, and it's very humid and it's very hot, like right now it is.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really stormy every other year. Some years we have barely any
Mhm.
storms, and we always get the 1 week of incredible winter, temperatures and weather, right? But most of the year is going to be fair weather that allows us to fly. And I've talked to some of the instructors that we have hired in the past from other schools that they mentioned that, hey, where I'm coming from, we don't get this type of weather, so it's nice to be able to interact with how do you deal with thunderstorms in the vicinity.
Mhm.
How do you deal with high crosswinds? There's a little bit of everything on that sector. Our main benefit, I think, for our location is in part Gray Army Airfield, because they are also an air traffic control training facility for basically initial controllers, right? With they have their instructors with them and things like that. So they like having schools go through because it helps them train as well. And we have a pretty close relationship with them. We do tours every semester with them where our pilots can go and talk to them and ask questions about the training. As they progress through the training, they can get to ask even more complex questions, but they get to see that there's a person there, right? And it's not the police, it's nothing like that. It's like we're working all together to make this airspace safe, and they get to ask questions that otherwise they wouldn't be able to. So having that nice close relationship, because the college has a tight relationship with the military, it allows our students to grow more, right? And location wise, we're in a non-tower airport, so that means that there's no long wait times that is going to make your lesson longer, and you're not actively actually flying maneuvers. We're pretty close to our practice area, so within the next 10 minutes you're going to be up in the air doing maneuvers. So it is part of the reasons why our program is a little bit more budget friendly because of that. And we do have several airports in the area, more than Austin. I know you may think Austin and San Antonio, but they're very busy airports. So more for a training, we're looking at Temple, we're looking at Gray, Waco, so even Lampasas, Killeen. We have multiple places within 30, 40 miles that we can do a lot of instrument approaches for training. And that means that the student doesn't have to fly very long distances to be able to achieve that. So that's one of the nice things that we have. And also we have our own maintenance. So like I mentioned in the past, is that our own full-time mechanics will take care of the airplanes. So they take a lot of pride and they take a lot of time to make sure the airplanes are very well maintained. So.
Yes, all great stuff. I know I've seen a lot of students, speaking back to the weather, with their tablet. Like, I love having an aviation student nearby because they're like, yeah, no, it's kind of okay. Oh no, everybody needs to go home soon because we're about to get the storm coming in. They're always tracking the weather, always. Also because that also lets them know if they're flying or not. I love it.
Yeah. Whether to get excited or not. Right?
Yeah, some days they're just very sad. If the weather's sad, they're sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, we talked a little bit about the VA potentially being able to pay some of the costs of this. Financial aid can help, through FAFSA and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want to go for commercial pilot, it's not just the associate's degree. It's a lot of flight hours. And we have other options available for payment as well for some of those things, right?
So through basically the college will provide through existing support systems, like you mentioned, we have the VA, we have FAFSA, there is payment plans that they can establish to out of pocket. There is private loans through Sallie Mae. And even in certain situations when a student is about to graduate and they need the extra help to finish, there's emergency loans through the college too. So that's we have the foundation, and they come in to help students in many occasions. Even they're very, very kind people, and they really try to find ways to look at what available funds there are to help a student get what they need. So the college provides scholarships every year, and I always encourage our students to please look at what is available, because it doesn't matter what it is, it's always helpful, right?
Yeah.
And we're members of the University of Aviation Association that also provides scholarships through multiple companies. We are also members of the Collegiate Alliance with AOPA. So that's another organization that helps primarily general aviation pilots, and also they're very in pro of education. They also have a number of scholarships available to students. So there is, if you really try to put out there multiple applications, you're ought to find an opportunity. And I had students who, when they apply, most of the time they come back and tell me that they got it.
Yeah.
So it's good, and I wouldn't say that also the program is not as expensive as other places, and that helps also when scholarships comes in. It helps reduce the ultimate amount of financial burden that is going to impact the student.
Yeah, because we do have a lot of students that like to come in from all over, especially Texas, right, within Texas, and they say that part of it is the cost, even coming from out of the local area,
Yeah.
for them, it's still worth the
Yeah.
cost. And we also have a residence hall,
Yeah.
which really helps
Mhm.
if anybody wants to stay on campus and be able to, take the aviation courses. We're
Mhm.
close enough to the airfield that it's just a small drive down the road, and
Yeah.
you can get into it.
It's 10, 11 minutes away, and I'm always impressed the art of the residence hall because the students. I was there too.
Yes, for those that don't
That
know,
too.
he was a product of the residence hall.
But it's when you're young and you're studying something that requires so much of your time, because this is not just I'm gonna go have fun in an airplane for 2 hours and then come back and relax. You need to go back to study.
Mhm.
So having a system that is going to feed you for the entire week, so that means that you don't have to worry about cleaning dishes or having to prep or having to
Mhm.
go buy groceries. So for the entire week, you have a meal plan,
Mhm.
and that allows you to maximize your study time. You have gym that is yours because you're a student. So on the health side, you have a gym that you can attend to keep yourself in good health. And then you're so close to the airport. So if you have transportation, I would recommend to have transportation
Yeah.
from the beginning because you want to be able to move back and forth and last minute maybe changes on schedule because we are bound by weather changes. But that's I think it's a really good option. If you're coming in from somewhere else, is look at the dorm. So it's not a hotel,
Mm-mm.
right? But it's a dormitory with really good benefits to stay and enjoy, and a lot of aviation students stay there. So you're probably going to end up
Mhm.
living with some of your peers and be able to have more study sessions and grow on that end.
And we usually end up with at least one aviation RA minimum.
Yeah, and that too, right? So if you see
A
the RA
resident
posted,
assistant. So a resident assistant helps in the residence hall, and that's one way
yeah,
to keep it economical too.
yeah, exactly. So you work in campus as a resident assistant, and that helps tremendously with the expenses. So
Mhm.
it is definitely doable, and I think it's a good option for people. We have 2 students from El Salvador. We have 1 student from France right now,
Oh.
and a lot of people, yes, local, but we have several from out of district as well that are staying at the dorm.
Yeah. So if you want more information, go ahead and send either an email to the aviation department.
Hmm.
I'm also going to plug because we oversee the camp. I oversee the campus tours here on campus,
Yeah.
and most of the time, people interested in aviation don't want to see our campus; they just want to see the airport. But we can definitely help make that connection to make sure that you have somebody to talk to at the airport.
Yeah.
And learn about the resources that we have on campus for all of our students. So if you want to see the residence hall, we can help you do that as well.
Yeah. It's important. I mean, it's part of the benefits, so
Mhm.
it's important to know exactly what they have available to them.
Well, and a lot of aviators like to just stay in the hangar
Mhm,
because
mhm.
that's where the fun stuff
Yeah,
is at.
yeah.
But the reality is that here on the campus, we have a lot of resources
Yeah.
to be able to help
Yeah.
with some of this stuff. With maybe it's not aviation exactly, but math is important in aviation,
Mhm.
and maybe you need to help figuring out some of those little details and kind of iron them out. And
Well, it's a requirement for the degree, so.
yeah, so it's very important. So to get all of those support systems in place and allow us to help you. That's the other thing. Allow us to help you. Ask for help.
Yeah.
And then that way we can guide
Well,
you.
and the tutors are supposed to get an aviation tutor too, so there's more
Mhm.
reasons to be here on campus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yay! All right. Well, thank you very much, Abe,
Thank
for
you.
being here and sharing all this information about the aviation program and the new mechanical maintenance
Mhm.
program that we're having and the fly-in event. We're hoping it's going to continue to be annual so that we'll be able to all experience it. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Hopefully, we can get to see you guys in June 13th
Yes.
in the fly.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.